Okay, so here's a little lecture that I put together, just some things about letter writing. You can see the parts of the letter here, the date, the inside address, and this is how it should look. Basically, you don't normally have the sender's address because you usually use letterhead, but you can note this letterhead does not include any address or contact information, so it has to be typed in the letter. So we have the date, the sender's address, the inside address, the salutation, dear so-and-so, followed by a colon, not a comma in a business letter. The text of the body, the closing has a call to action. You can get in touch with me or make an appointment, please, to discuss your needs. Then we have our signature block. Usually it's sincerely in almost all business letters. I don't know why that became the default, but best regards is fine too. Leave 3 spaces for your signature, then have your name, and then enclosure just means there's something else in the envelope, lets the person know to look for it. And carbon copy means I also sent a copy of this letter to someone else, maybe my supervisor as well. So you let them know that. Okay, students always question, they want to use semi-block, or modified block it's also been called, versus block. I like block because everything starts at the left margin. You cannot screw it up. If you use the modified block, the inside address, the date, and your closing start at midpoint. They're not centered, they start at midpoint, which is kind of hard to figure out how to do. Just use the block, everything from the left, and you can't go wrong. Okay, this gives you the spacing. They say that when you fold a letter in half, as much should be above the fold as below the fold. It should be centered over that area. And you do that by those 4 to 7 spaces in there. I've actually seen letters or textbooks that'll say 2 to 10 spaces. I think 10 spaces looks absolutely crazy, but this will give you an idea. You want everything to start at the left, don't indent. Your paragraph should have a blank line in between them. Then we move down to sincerely down here at the bottom. It says 4 spaces, but you hit 4 returns, so it's actually 3 spaces. And this is who the carbon copies went to. Okay, for this class, most all the time, we will use single spacing unless I specify other. But you should have 1-inch margins for your letterhead, or plus 1 inch. You have to come down 2 inches usually to use letterhead. So there's different types of messages. Routine or positive messages, you always start with the main idea. For example, if you won, they have those fish bowls at restaurants, and you put your business card in, and if you get picked, you get a free lunch. In that example, you would say, congratulations, you won our monthly free lunch drawing, and then explain the information about what the contest held, how do they get their lunch, and thank them for being a customer. So basically, it works out to be 3 paragraphs. I list different types of letters here: requesting information and action, order letters, routine claim letters, routine reply letters, granting claims, and what you would do in that first paragraph. So in the first paragraph for requesting information, you would ask a question or issue a polite command. Will you please answer the following questions about your business for me? And then you have a list. You might say, I'm the event coordinator, and we're having this type of event with 300 people, all socially distanced, of course. But you don't start off with, I'm so-and-so, I work for so-and-so. You don't do that. That's directing attention away from the main idea. And you also don't say, I'm Lori Townsend, I'm writing to you, because that's opening filler. You would say, could you please answer these questions? List in the body what you should go through, and finally in the closing. So it's a nice little cheat sheet for you. If it's bad message we're giving, no one likes to give bad news, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. So you have to write the letter in the manner that lessens the impact. They may not like the bad news, but they can accept the bad news. And there are 3 different ways to de-emphasize bad news. One is to use passive voice. Instead of saying, I can't process your claim at this time, say your claim cannot be processed until such and such time. Use a dependent clause. Although your claim cannot be processed, it will be when you provide the correct documentation. And you can bury it in a paragraph. Use 3 paragraphs. The first one should be the opening or buffer. Second, the reasons for the bad news and the bad news in one, so that we're kind of burying the bad news. And finally, the closing. Okay, so you can read through those examples. Oh, make sure the bad news is only mentioned once. I've seen students that write, "I'm sorry, I cannot process your claim." Again, your claim cannot be processed, and finally, your claim will be processed soon, or whatever. Mention it only once and move on from that. You've heard the expression "salt in a wound." If you keep saying the bad news over and over again, that's exactly what you're doing. So here's our pattern for bad news. It's the buffers, anything good we can have to say about it, the reasons, the bad news, and the closings. And again, I give you a little cheat sheet for that. And finally, we have persuasive messages. They tend to be a little longer than routine messages because it takes time to be persuasive. We have to build our reasonings and back them up, where I can't just come out and say, "You won." This is to practice your sucking up skills. Whatever benefits you can persuade the recipient, use them. It can be tangible benefits like an honorarium or cold hard cash, or intangible like giving back to your field. So the pattern here is we want to gain their attention, build their interest, reduce resistance, and finally motivate to action. I like to you've probably all seen QVC, and while it's not a written message, there are things that they do to motivate you to action. Think about it. There's only 3 left. Oh my gosh, I have to buy this because there's only 3 left. That's motivating me to action. A timer. This product's only available for 1 more minute. I better call in and get it right now. Or they overcome some obstacle, reduce resistance by saying, if you don't like it, you can have your money back. 30-day money back guarantee. So here's our cheat sheet for persuasive. I hope this helps. Good luck.